Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the Long Shot Podcast. I am your host, Duncan Robinson, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Davis Patrick Reed. Davis, how are we doing?
I'm great. Does the hello and welcome intro get you as fired up as me? Because every time I hear it, it gets me going. I wasn't a huge fan of it at the beginning, I got to admit. I thought we needed to bring a lot more energy. Hello and welcome just felt a little too subdued, but it does it for me now.
It does it for me as well. You know, I think it's soothing in some way. It's therapeutic, but it's also signaling. You know, it gets me in that mindset of, all right, it's time to record a show. You know, because we do this in all different parts of the day. You know, it changes. The setting always changes. But as soon as the hello and welcome is initiated, then it's game time. You know what I mean?
Right. It's time to lock in.
Yeah, exactly. So we got a great episode. We're not going to bore you too much because we want to get right to Hasan, and he is a fantastic guest. One of our one of our few non-basketball guests, even though he is very much intertwined in the world of basketball because he's an avid basketball fan. But it's something that you and I have talked about wanting to do more of, and I think we anticipate doing more of. But he was a great time and a great conversation.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I remember walking out of the interview and you asked me, how did you think that went? And I said, honestly, don't know, don't care. I'm just glad I met him because he was incredibly impressive. We talked to him late last week, so he was just getting ready to kick off his opening show on his new tour. And so he's as busy as ever. I think he's probably at that arena for like 12 or at that theater for like 12 hours just rehearsing. And he manages to cut out like an hour of his time for us, which was just remarkable.
No, incredibly generous of him to do that. It's interesting because I've been doing this for, I guess, 34 episodes now. And, you know, every guest kind of calls for a different version of Duncan. You know, sometimes, if it's just you and I realize, you know, I gotta carry some of the entertainment load.
Sure.
If it's Mo or if it's Max, and obviously it's a little bit more friendly, so I kind of got to tap into the friendship banter. For this one, my main goal was just kind of stay out of the way.
Yeah,
because so much of what he was talking about is so profound on so many different levels to the point where if I start interjecting and then like, you know, making it about me, then I'm just like taking away from the experience.
Yeah, no, it would have just been selfish. I felt the exact same way. He was operating on a little bit of a different frequency. I was in awe most of the time. There were a couple soliloquies he goes on. Football and jazz is one that you'll hear. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
but
please don't.
There were a couple times where was sitting there and kind of forgot that we were doing the interview. I ended up just like taking mental notes.
Yeah, the other thing I just want to touch on before we get to some other things is the showmanship. He is very clearly an entertainer. If you're watching our interview on YouTube, you'll see his ability to like just kind of know where the camera is and always just like have that moment talking to the audience, the camera. You and I very much like we've actually had conversations around like, let's just act like there aren't cameras there, like, because it's easier. And he does the exact opposite. And it just goes to show you the difference between a couple of rookies like you and I and a true professional.
Yeah. But again, taking mental notes, there's a lot we can pull from Hasan. It was awesome. A couple quick NBA things that I want to get your take on. First, I think we have to start with JJ. So we are recording this front of show on Tuesday. He announced this morning that he is retiring from the NBA. Hell of a career. But what was your reaction when you saw that?
Oh, man. First and foremost, I mean, just an incredible career. What he was able to do in the game of basketball at his size, a 6'4", Caucasian man. I mean, you just don't see them matriculating into, 15, 16, 17-year careers. Obviously, he played for 15, but, the way his competitive spirit, his tenacity, his approach to his craft, just being a master of his routine. And that's something that, I obviously had the privilege to kind of get to peer into that a little bit, in that he was willing to kind of share some things with me, and hearing about his approach and how he approached every single practice day, every single off day, every single game day, whether that was year 14, 15, or 6, 7, 8, whatever it was, he maintained this persistence. And, truly the consistency is what is the mark of a high level performer. And obviously he was able to do it at such a high level. And for me, I just feel so fortunate that I could be just a witness of it in sort of a more intimate way than I would have ever expected. I mean, I grew up watching him dominate college basketball, always loved the way he played, always loved the chip that he had on his shoulder. And then to then watch the early stage of his career as just a fan was special. But then to have kind of that moment later on in his career of actually being able to kind of see behind the curtain was really, really cool. So nothing but respect for him. What he was able to accomplish in his career is nothing short of extraordinary.
Yeah, it's funny. I was when I saw the news this morning, I was thinking, it's back in 2000, he was in college in like 2004 to 2006 ish range. So I was in elementary school. I'm in like 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And I wanted to be JJ Redick. Like I went to the gym and launched threes, didn't make a lot of them, but I thought I was trying to reenact what I was seeing from JJ Redick, and then progressed to now. He's like, obviously still an amazing basketball player, but he's also become so much more for us. He's given us this platform. And he was one of the guys who like really spearheaded athletes having podcasts, being able to communicate in their own voice in this long form content. And so, it's just, he's now kind of taken on this extra significance in my life just because I'm doing this with you, but I know especially in your life as well.
Yeah, a great example of that is when all the media outlets picked up his retirement, all of them had like underneath source JJ Redick, where usually it's like, you leak it to Woj, you do this or that. But for him to be able to have created the platform where he can just step on to the old man in the three, brought to you by 342 Productions, and just, share this news with his fans and the basketball community is such a cool thing to have. And it's part of the reason why I kind of wanted to get involved in this space in the first place.
Yeah. And old man three's not going anywhere. I mean, if anything, he can give more time to it now. He'll probably be golfing and hanging out with his kids and drinking wine, but he'll still be doing podcasting. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's so cool that he can take that narrative completely into his own hands.
In honor of, and this is, I'm just completely bringing this up on the spot. We have not prepared for this at all. In honor of his retirement, I say we just kind of recap a couple of our favorite moments, JJ Redick moments.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Just kind of go back and forth. So I'm actually going to lead this off. I'm going to paint a very vivid picture for you. The year is, I want to say 2003, and it feels right. I'm walking into a Best Buy in Newington, New Hampshire. At this age, I did not own a video game console. That was a big no-no in the Robinson family. We were not to have any video games. So I would go to Best Buy, and I would go in the back by the game section, and I would play Xbox or PlayStation, whatever, the ones that they had set up in the store. And I would always try to get there early, so I'd be the first one on the sticks, and I would play college basketball 2K3, whatever it was, 2K4, and I would always be JJ Redick and the Duke Blue Devils. And I would go off with JJ in a random Best Buy. And my favorite part about it, obviously, was his ability to shoot. But when you would get to the free throw line, this is throwback EA Sports stuff or whatever it was, 2K, I don't even remember. For free throws, you would do the two moving lines, right? One would move horizontally, one would move vertically. And you had to hit the lines in the box. And his free throws were so slow because like whether or not you were a good free throw shooter or a bad free throw shooter would determine the speed of the lines moving. And I would just crush it at the line with JJ Redick. I would always get fouled. I'd pick up like reaching fouls or whatever, and I'd go to the line and I'd go for like 40. I'd hit like 8 or 10 threes, and the rest would just be free throws. So anyways, that's one of my favorite early on JJ Redick moments. We'll each do two. What do you say?
This reminds me of our conversation a couple months ago where you talked about how PK soccer penalty kicks are too easy. It's like if you miss one, it's your fault. it's not even like it's like you're supposed to make them. It was that way with those free throws with JJ. It's like if you're missing them, you're doing something wrong. They're basically just standing still. You just have to click it in the middle. That's a great memory. For me, I think of college JJ as, I think you and I can maybe relate to this in a little bit or in a way. I was a lot of times passive and a little too friendly on the basketball court. Like it was hard for me to flip the switch and go into this ultra competitive, like killer mode. And nobody did that better than JJ at Duke. Like he was just stepped on the court and he was someone else. So he was somebody I looked at growing up as a kid as like, I need to try to do more of that. He was a master at it.
That's great stuff. No, he's always had that, like I referenced earlier, just that fiery competitive spirit. All right, my second one. So I'm going to do a throwback memory. I'm going to do a more recent memory.
Yeah, I'll do the same.
Was my rookie year in the association. I was on a 2-way contract. It's late in the year. I think at this point the Sixers had already wrapped up their playoff picture. So I don't even know if he needed to play. But in the shoot around for us, Miami, we were still kind of like on the cusp. There was still a chance that we could make it. So we had a much more lively shoot around, very typical for your Miami Heat as well. Sometimes it kind of tends to turn into a little bit of a practice, or at least in this particular instance, it kind of did. Felt a little more like a practice than it did a shoot around. So I was tasked to be JJ Redick. I was on the scout team, and I was tasked to work the 2-man game with Joel Embiid, who I believe at that time was Juwan Howard, actually. Good old 17. So Juwan and I in practice we have a great rapport. You know, we're doing the throw and go stuff, the catch, the handoffs, the handbacks, the slip and keep, all sorts of stuff. And I end up kind of giving our team some fits in shoot around. And I remember Spoke coming up to me afterwards, or Quinny or somebody, and being like, I'm not gonna lie, like, you were pretty damn good, JJ Redick, today. And that was very it was just great to hear. A guy I always looked up to, you know, watched a ton of his film, all that stuff. So we get to the game. I don't think I actually suited up for the game, so I'm at the end of the bench and I'm watching. And once again, not a lot on the line for your Philadelphia 76ers at this point. They'd already kind of locked up their playoff picture. So I'm just watching. Like, I kind of made it a mission going in, like, I'm just going to watch JJ. Like, I'm going to watch him off the ball, on defense, in between plays. I'm just going to lock in on him. In the first, 6 to 8 minutes, the dude was just wired. He's like cursing and talk, not like disrespectfully, but like talking shit, like just the intensity. He's like throwing people off him as they're trying to grab him. He's like cutting hard. It's like throwing his hand back, you know, yelling at the ref. He was yelling at his own bench. He was like screaming at his bench. I was like in awe. I was like, this guy, for the fact that this guy at this point, it was year 13, is bringing this intensity and this level of approach to basically an inconsequential game. I was just like taken back. And actually it was kind of in many ways like a turning point for me of like, all right, I need to have more of this. Like, this isn't, this is the NBA, no boys allowed. Like, I need to harness some of that in my own game. And I think since I've I always try to remind myself of that moment of like, I need to be more like that. So yeah, I mean, that was another one that really sticks out to me for sure.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. All right, I'll just quickly, the thing that keeps coming to my mind is last year when he, this is not as nearly significant as the story you just told, it was beautiful, but just when he flicked the ball to the ref, just like out of anger, but it was actually a great pass and he got teed up for it. It was like actually impressive. He put the side spin on it, lands right in the ref's lap, but he still gets teed up for it.
And then he does like the look of disbelief, like the look around, both palms up, like, what say? What is going on? Yeah, I mean, clearly for both of us, the fiery version of JJ is clearly our favorite. Anyways, I feel like, there's going to be plenty more JJ talk in the future, considering he is our boss in some respects. Right. But at the very least, he certainly earned, that little spiel of, an ode to him, if you will.
Yeah, no, it felt right. All right, next thing, just real quick, is Ben Simmons. News this morning comes out from Woj that he's not planning on reporting to camp. A couple questions for you on that. One, I just want your reaction to that. But two, We can do that. That's a thing you can do, is just decide not to show up to camp.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly a tricky situation. If you know me, you know that I'm going to avoid any sort of soundbite in this situation. But
As you should.
I mean, like for both sides, right? Like obviously Ben has made it clear he does not want to be there. But then also if you're Philly, kind of how this situation has been handled from both sides has like seriously diminished the returns that you can get for Ben, because teams across the league, like at some point, teams are going to realize, well, I mean, they're realizing now already how disgruntled he is, but like realize that at some point, if you're Philly, you have to make a move. You can't just have somebody who's not going to play on your roster. Like, I guess you could just find them all day. I honestly don't know how this plays out. I mean, yeah, I guess you can do it. You can do whatever you want.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
It is a bold strategy, but I will say this. If he doesn't want to be there, which clearly he doesn't, it certainly kind of forces their hand.
Yeah, true.
And the other side, not saying that like I support it. Like I said, I'm staying Switzerland on this entirely. But the other side of it too is that like, because if you're Ben, you're diminishing their returns, it also kind of makes it more likely that you end up in a better situation potentially.
100%.
Because you could land on a team that can give away a couple picks and some young players and still maintain their core. Now, with that being said, I mean, I think maybe burning a bridge would probably be underselling it, but like you are likely not in the good graces of your front office. Once again, this is entirely speculation. So I don't think that they would be overly inclined to want to send him somewhere. But then again, what do I know? Very little when it comes to this situation. But
you know nothing. I want him to go somewhere else. I don't know where. Don't really care where. And then I just want to tune in for his first game back in Philly. That's all. It's like LeBron back in Cleveland vibes. It's like you can only imagine what that arena would sound like.
I think it has the potential to be worse, and I say that just because it's Philly. I mean, this is a fan base that booed Santa Claus. They booed Joel Embiid in the middle of an All-Star season. Like like it's so bold, you almost want to respect it, but like, I mean, it's just another level. But yeah, that will certainly be a sight to see.
Ben Simmons for Kyrie, who says no.
I have no idea. From all reports, I think Kyrie says no, didn't I?
Yeah.
I saw something that he would just like retire.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyways.
What an amazing era of basketball and player empowerment. Guy A says, I'm not coming to camp. There's rumors he might get traded for Guy B, and Guy B says, fuck it, I'm retiring if I get traded.
Well, hold on. We've seen this movie before. Didn't Gronk do that too?
Yes.
They called him and they were like, yeah, we're trading you to Indy or something like that. It's like, you can't trade me. I'm retired.
I'm retired. And look at him now, back with his quarterback, winning Super Bowls. I mean, hey, there's something to be said.
Yeah, that's wild. All right, let's get to our Reddit question of the week. What do you got, Dave?
All right, so this question comes from Uber Troll, although I don't think this question is trolling because I liked it. They ask, most athletic play you've seen in the NBA?
Great question. Obviously, there's so much to choose from. I'm going to make it so it's only a play that I've seen live.
Yeah, I like that.
And witnessed. And that would be Derrick Jones Jr.'s. Well, I could pick a bunch, but I'm going to do his lob against the Toronto Raptors. The one in transition. It was kind of like at the end of the game. The game was kind of out of hands at that point. And I think it was Bam just threw a terrible lob, which it's funny how the worst lob passes always end up for the best dunks.
Oh, yeah.
Threw it way behind him. Derrick just goes up to a floor that not many other individuals are capable of getting to.
Right.
Reaches way back. That's why it's the most athletic for me, is like the dexterity to like, shoulder mobility to get to make the catch. Then also like the slow-mo, like his legs are like Jordan, like sprawled out, and he just throws it in the rim. It's moments like that where it's like, I see somebody do that, and I'm like, I think to myself, like, it's almost like him and I play a different sport, because it's like that play is so far beyond my wildest imagination. Like, I could never ever make that play,
right?
Yet somehow we coexist in the same sport at a pretty high level, and it's just fascinating to me. So that would be my number one.
Look, we've talked about this a lot on this podcast. You got to know your role. Your role is not to jump up and catch the ball behind you and tomahawk it into the rim. That's just not what you're supposed to do. So it's okay. You guys are playing the same sport. That's a good answer. I assumed when you said a play you'd seen live that it would be Derrick Jones Jr. just because he has otherworldly athleticism. This is not a moment I've seen live, but the moment that comes to mind for me real quick is, do you remember the Shannon Brown block for the Lakers
when
years
he grabs
ago?
it with two hands?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it gets called a foul.
Yeah,
it's definitely not. And the Lakers bench, when they see the replay, is just like, that. There's no way that just happened. Unreal.
Yeah. That's a great one. Throwback Shannon Brown. He was supremely athletic. I also, I just want to bring this up because I've gotten this from a bunch of different directions. I guess in NBA 2K22, they just released I honestly, I don't play 2K. I haven't in like a handful of years. But I guess what they do now is they like release like different versions of a player. So like they just released like an upped version of me where like I have this crazy dunk package as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
So like I can still really shoot, but I have this crazy dunk package. And a bunch of people have been hitting me up on like various forms of social media, like LinkedIn, email, like that sort of thing. And basically saying, hey man, like you better be doing this year, like all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, I don't really respond to it anyways, but like, I don't really know what to say to that because it's like, clearly this is a like fantastical version of myself. And This is something that I could never do. So it's pretty disrespectful of Ronnie over there at NBA 2K to come up with that because you're putting unfair expectations on me as a professional athlete.
Here's a question for you. If nothing in your game changed, like your athleticism didn't change at all, but as soon as you took off, you had this incredible dunk package, how much would your game change?
Oh, I've actually had this conversation quite a bit. Like if I could give up like a little bit of my shooting ability to be like more athletic, the answer is actually probably no.
Right. I agree.
Granted, it would probably be like way more fun. And mind you, like, I'm a self-deprecating individual here. Like I've dunked on people in my career. Like I just want to make that clear. Like I can like get up and dunk like very easily. It's just in this 2K game, they have me like catching, put back dunks over like 4 people, 2 of them being like 6'10" and 7 feet. It's like, that's unrealistic. Anyways, my answer is I probably would not give up any of my shooting ability. I really wouldn't.
Okay, well that wasn't the question I asked. You kind of hijacked the question.
What was the question?
If you had an incredible dunk package added to your repertoire, but it didn't impact your athleticism, like you're not getting to the rim any easier. It's just once you take off, does that impact your game at all?
Yeah, I would think I would be like a young Ray Allen,
Ooh.
But even actually a little bit different because I think Ray Allen's an incredible shooter, but like he was a better shooter later in his career. So like I think I would be I got to be careful here. But yeah, I mean like you look at young Ray Allen and you see him dunking on people and it's like people who just watched him like later on in his career don't even realize that was like a big part of his game. So yeah, I'd probably be like young Ray Allen.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say it's not impacting your game at all because you still have to get to the point where you take off for a dunk. Which, might not happen a lot.
All right. I respect the shade that's being thrown. Anyways, long shot feature, Andrew Wilson. We got to shout out our fellow D3 brethren. He's an Olympic gold medalist, Davis. He went to Emory University, located in Atlanta, Georgia. He's the first ever Division III swimmer to make an Olympic team. He won gold in the 400 medley relay in Tokyo. And now I guess he plans to get a master's in math modeling and scientific computing from Oxford University. And listen, I don't know much about much, but if I don't even understand the degree that you're getting,
right.
you're probably operating on a different frequency.
I love that it's just like keeping the stereotype of Division III athletes, that we're cerebral guys, like we're go win a gold medal and then go get your master's at Oxford. Great stuff.
No, it's impressive out of Andrew. But like I said, way to carry the torch for Division III athletics. There's too much ridicule and shade thrown at Division III athletics. It's a high level of sports. So
couldn't agree more.
I appreciate Andrew for showcasing that on the world stage. Anyways, let's get to Hasan. Like we talked about earlier. Fantastic guest and a fantastic human being. If you have a chance to catch his tour going on right now, I strongly encourage you to do so. Yes,
King's Jester. He's going all over the country, all over the world. So yeah, we're going to both go see it in person. We strongly suggest that you do as well.